essence of your soul.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to my Wild N'Zoth Jade Rogue series. This is going to be the first video I release after the start of my stream. Night 1 did not go very well. There was actually quite a few losses. A couple mistakes I made, a couple decks clumping, etc, etc. However, it was not a total loss because in chat I got some ideas that I kind of took to heart and started thinking about the deck, etc. And I came up with some changes that I think are going to be really positive moving forward. And so I thought I'd go ahead and record some games and share that with you guys. The changes I've made is I've taken out Shadowstep and Gang Up, each for a Shadowcaster, so there's now 2 Shadowcasters in the deck. The reason for this change is because Shadowstep was only in the deck for the possibility of a second N'Zoth, and that is an amazing threat. However, it's just not something that I play very often. There's probably been a few games where N'Zoth came out a second time, and that's why I won it. So mostly it's just a dead card. Against aggro, sometimes I'll like bring back a Jade Spirit or maybe a Stonehill Defender to get the battle cry again, but the point is it takes a body off the board, and that's a little slow, and that's just not good enough. Same with Gang Up. Gang Up's nice for extending the length of my deck. However, if I got more value out of the cards as I played them, I wouldn't need my deck to be deeper. And Shadowcaster still gives me more of the death rattles that I would get from Gang Up and from casting N'Zoth the second time. Meanwhile, Shadowcaster also fills in that mid area of the deck's ramp, because once I get to 9, 10, and I can play Valeera or N'Zoth, like I've got stuff to do. And in the early game, because of the low curve, I usually have plenty of stuff to do. But it's always in the middle. If I don't have the card draw, I just don't have stuff to do, or my bodies aren't big enough. And that's the beauty of Shadowcaster. If nothing else, it's a 4/4 body. So it's more meat that I can put down to contest the board a little bit better. That's something that the deck's been struggling with a little bit if I don't get the Jades rolling. And it almost always serves to keep the Jades going. And in a pinch, you can copy Mistress of Mixtures, for example, stuff like that. And then the other change I made to the deck is I took out one of the Stonehill Defenders, because Stonehill Defenders were only ever in there because I couldn't contest the board. I needed to kind of stall the game, and it's a taunt that provides another taunt, which gives me stuff to do. Shadowcasters have kind of relieved that load that I had, so I went ahead and took out one of the Stonehill Defenders and used that as an excuse to get Sylvanas Windrunner in there. Now, she's a card I've been wanting to include for a long time and just didn't feel that I had the space for her. Now that I can contest the board a little bit better, I think having that extra death rattle in there is going to be really great. It's going to give me N'Zoth value. Obviously, it's going to combo with the Shadowcaster, not on the same turn, obviously, but there's going to be some shenanigans there. And when N'Zoth brings her back, it's going to be big. It's going to help me contend against the control decks a little bit better. Not that this deck usually had that big of a deal against control decks, but big Druid, big Priest, these can get big minions out a little quickly. And this deck doesn't really have an easy way to deal with that if it happens too soon. So those are the changes that I made with the deck. I'm happy with the results so far. The Jade Avalanche can come on a little bit earlier if the draw is good enough. And if nothing else, I tend to have more to do in the mid-game. And it's just, I'm really happy with the results thus far, but let me know what you think. And just as a reminder, I am streaming now, so that's going to be nightly at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time right now for about 2 hours to midnight. Right now we're just playing this deck. Once I hit Legend and or something like that, maybe we'll look at other things, but it's a lot of fun. This deck's a lot of fun to play. Usually wins pretty well. It really did horribly last night, which made me feel bad because it was the first night streaming, but I got to talk with it about it with other people and got some really good tips. So, and a special shout out to azuarc for helping me with the Shadowcaster. It's something that other people have mentioned, and it's something that, you know, if you look at most Jade Rogue lists, it's pretty standard. The reason why I always shied away from it is because it requires a body to be on the board. And obviously, once I had gang up in the deck, I was kind of over that hump. So, and again, if nothing else, it's a 4/4 body at a time if I've got nothing else to do. So that can be very helpful. You know, that kills half a Lich King by himself, just as an example. So, anyways, hope you tune in for the show. In the meantime, enjoy these games. Thank you so much.
Your soul shall be mine. Watch your back. Trust me. Out of my jungle! The shadows begin. Here we go. You win this time. Valeera versus Malfurion. I must protect the one. Watch your back. My greetings. The shadows begin. Go away! Here we go. Here we go. Your magic shall not fail. Let none survive! You cannot keep the shadow of death. Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise. You win. I can rest now. Valeera versus Rogue. For Doomhammer. Watch your back. Shadows begin. Here we go. You win the game.